Welcome to the Manuchehri podcast. Over the last 30 years, it has been my joy to assist humanity in aligning with their magnificence so they may heal, discover their natural gifts, and communicate with loved ones living on the other side. May you also experience delight while we dance in the powerful, intuitive world of energy. Let's get going. Hello, and welcome to Where Energy Meets the Divine. Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you're new, thank you for joining. Please like and subscribe below. Before we go to the phone lines and I start to answer really fun, interesting questions, I love the questions. They bring me great joy. I wanted to talk about trust. It's a really important, necessary topic for everyone, and it's related to the heart chakra. So the heart chakra that sits in the center of your chest, if you're an old soul, which old soul types are interested in the topics that I might share or other people like me. Usually younger souls aren't drawn to that type of conversation. It doesn't matter if someone's a young soul or old soul, they're just as precious and wonderful and lovely and beautiful and important to our whole growth and consciousness, especially on the earth realm, which is kind of 50-50. You know, there are medium age souls that are kind of in the middle. Because to get from young soul to old soul, you have to have some medium years in there, you know, where you're kind of taking the concepts of both. You know, younger souls are learning compassion, older souls are learning self-compassion. Trust is, it's really about trusting yourself. People who have been betrayed in whatever lifetime, let's say this lifetime, if you have been betrayed, and betrayal could even come from someone who had great intentions, but they perhaps are not as evolved. They can't possibly experience what's in your best interest, and you trusted them, and then you were betrayed. For example, you know, and this could happen in any trade, in any profession, where someone is doing the very best they can, but they don't have the capacity to really fully make that decision or choice for someone. And I'm thinking of the few times that I know of where a physician or a group of physicians misdiagnosed someone. I remember a case where I wasn't the nurse, and it was a friend of mine, family member, whose young person was misdiagnosed with a form of cancer in their reproductive organs. And unfortunately, the diagnosis was felt to be authentic, and the person went through multiple rounds of chemotherapy, and it turned out they did not have testicular cancer. Fascinating. So even in that situation where I'm sure the physicians and the radiologist and everyone was doing their very best, perhaps their soul level of vibration is lower than the patient's, and the patient needs to learn to trust themselves. That's a big reason why people experience betrayal in their life, is because they give their power to others. Lots of people give their power to physicians and lawyers and politicians. And that's why when we have these weird things happening in certain areas of human consciousness, like in the political world, it's really to force everyone to learn to trust themselves, not outside sources. You need to learn to trust yourself, especially old soul types. They've had quite a few experiences within all of their hundreds of thousands of lifetimes that they are the right person to trust. They could actually be even the right person for many other people to listen to or follow or to trust, because they've had extensive experiences. Extensive. So if you've been betrayed in this lifetime, there's multiple things going on. You want to learn to trust yourself, to listen to your own inner guidance, to know what it feels like when what you are sensing is accurate. You want to learn this. That's why you've come to Earth and you've been betrayed again. Now, old souls have huge heart chakras, right? Fills the entire chest cavity. Younger souls their heart chakra is about 2.5 inches in diameter. Again, one is not better than the other. They're just kind of like how babies are tiny and adults are taller. They're just different ways of perceiving and experiencing life, but one is not better or worse than the other. They're just different. So older soul types with their huge heart chakras and their empathic nature, they feel others and they understand others so deeply, but they also tend to project their own integrity and assume other people have the same integrity as an old soul. Young souls could easily be lacking integrity. It's not a joke. They haven't had enough lifetimes, enough experiences, not just in the human world, but in other worlds. There's probably, at least I'm confident, there are other third dimensional spaces similar to Earth where we've also had past lives. So whatever betrayal you have experienced, if you've experienced betrayal in this particular lifetime, your betrayals in your previous lifetimes were much worse. As we, say, oh my gosh, I really want to learn my personal power. I want to learn to trust myself. And I know I'm going to most likely, in order to trigger that, because obviously I'm not very conscious about this topic. That's why I'm having these experiences to wake me up, to go, oh, I'm listening to others. Whatever you're experiencing in this lifetime is much softer than previous lives. With each reincarnation, whether it's physical or non-physical, but usually tragedies and betrayals are definitely physical experiences. You can only imagine it's very hard to betray someone in the non-physical realm. You don't need a car, you don't need money, you don't need food, you don't have a body, you don't need to love someone if you don't want to, because you feel such an intensity of compassion and caring and love and connection to all that exists when you're in a non-physical reality. So it's much harder to betray someone in the non-physical world. It's challenging. Not so hard in the physical realm. It's pretty easy. And so if you've had especially a lot of betrayals or such significant ones, you really want to learn to trust yourself. And because old souls tend to project this internal integrity that they have, and they assume everyone else has it, which is not true. You have to live hundreds of thousands of times to have such a level of compassion and integrity that you can imagine doing what others have done to you. But remember, in these betrayal moments that you're having, your soul, and souls are curious, they want to have all kinds of experiences. They don't really care how it comes about. They don't care how you learn to trust yourself. They don't care how many betrayals you have, because especially old souls, they have this, all souls, but old souls have this huge, bigger picture experience going on all the time. So we want to bless, ultimately, those moments of betrayal, because those have been your opportunity to change, to learn to trust yourself, to value yourself. And when you start to trust yourself, you don't care if you're going to be right or wrong. You just go, I want to trust myself on this topic. I don't really know if I'm right or wrong, but I'm going to trust me and see how it unfolds, versus blindly trusting someone you may not even know, that you don't even have a strong relationship with, to guide your life in a very serious and particular way, when maybe you've had some feelings on the outside that could be very sensitive or extremely quiet, telling you, go shop somewhere else. Go look for a different lawyer. Go buy a different house. Don't date that person. Certainly don't marry that person. And I'm sure you can think of a plethora of other moments in your life where you've had opportunities to listen to yourself. That's what betrayal is all about. Learning to trust yourself first. And then when you trust yourself, you don't get betrayed anymore, because you're not attracted to people who are going to potentially cheat you or harm you or lie to you or whatever. And all of those parts of people who are not being honest or compassionate to others, that's really about their own work. They're working on learning to be compassionate, to care about others, and to think of other people's needs, which they have not figured out yet. That's why they can so easily betray others, perhaps even over and over and over and over and over again. But that's not your job to fix it. it has really nothing to do with you personally. Just like you not learning to trust yourself is not something personal to others, it's personal to you. You have to learn to trust yourself. It's not anyone else's job to teach you to do that. You need to build that inner trust within yourself. Very exciting. So we're having this conversation because the heart chakra governs all the flow of the blood in the body, from your capillaries through your arteries, in your heart, in your lungs, and everywhere else. Your intestinal tract has a lot of vascular flow as well. And one of the health challenges we have on Earth, pretty significantly, is intestinal issues. But cardiac issues are all about betrayal. So learning to trust yourself will heal cardiac issues, heal and balance the properties in your blood so that everything's at the right level and weird things aren't in your blood, like blood cancers and other things like that are associated with betrayal. Your heart chakra also balances and moves lymphatic fluid. So it's in charge of the properties in the lymphatic fluid and how the lymphatic fluid moves, which is this incredible, teeny tiny, but vast, like train system that runs throughout your entire body, your lymphatic system. And its primary job is to absorb toxins and to kill bacteria within the lymph nodes, and then to move it out of your body, maybe through your skin or your blood or potentially urine. So if you have been betrayed and you haven't healed from these experiences, which you need to develop a relationship with yourself where you will trust you. If you can do that or make improvements on that, and if you have issues in these parts of your body that I'm mentioning, and the heart chakra also governs the lungs, breast tissue, lots of areas, that are important to the human well-being, live underneath the heart chakra, within the heart chakra energy, then you will reduce the health issue, not have those health issues, heal a health issue that's there, just by learning to trust yourself, which is critical, to learn to trust yourself. So what does that look like? That means paying attention to the small cues, the really tiny small cues that, of course, are always there. The universe is always assisting you and helping you, but many empathic older souls will not want to take into account that someone could be ripping them off, lying to them, cheating them. They don't want to think negatively about other people. It kind of hurts their soul. They just want to love people and believe people, but that's not what's really happening. You live on a planet with young souls too, and they're learning compassion. And remember, when you've been betrayed, that's really something you desire to help you wake up and learn to trust yourself. Okay, I thought that would be a fun talk for today. So I'm going to go ahead and now go to the phone lines and start listening to your questions.
Hi, Marie. My name is Lisa, and I'm calling from the East Coast. I just had a couple questions. First off, I just wanted to know if I had any guidance from my spirit guides on what I should be doing with my life. I've been going through an incredible spiritual growth for the last 10 years, but don't feel like I'm quite there yet and have a lot of blocks. So also, I've been dreaming of somebody I lost a long time ago, and just kind of wanted to know what he's trying to tell me. If you can help me with those couple of questions, that would be awesome. I listen to all your podcasts. You're great. I love it. Thanks again, and have a beautiful day.
And thank you, Lisa. I don't really believe in blocks. I believe in resistance, which is not a block. It's just a perception of something that is telling us not to dive into our magnificence. Humans are terrified of being their full individualized self. That means they're going to be, incredible at multiple things. They're going to discover natural talents about themselves. And this is that honest to creation truth. Creation is expanding right now in my office as I'm having this conversation on this topic. That's what people are afraid of. So So resistance is really telling us, come here, come closer, come take a look. And even though you've studied spirituality, are you utilizing it in your life? Which is what spirituality is all about. Are you speaking your truth? Are you participating and utilizing the things that you've learned? And you might have some resistance regarding that. And I would highly recommend that you step into that resistance and move through. When I'm listening to this person that you have not had a relationship in a very long period of time, who has been visiting you in your dreams, those are true visitations. It's not like they're trying to tell you some big secret. They want you to know that you are multisensory and that you can sense beyond the physical realm, which you are kind of hiding about yourself. It's like you don't want to allow yourself to have your multisensory abilities beyond the veil, which is important. The veil is really just, in my opinion, a lack of consciousness, because people peer through the veil and have all kinds of experiences through the veil. And those who refuse to are just not allowing their consciousness to expand. So I think that's why he's visiting you, so that you allow yourself to have higher levels of consciousness. And in your case, that would mean integrating the spiritual truths or experiences that you've had into your daily life. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Marie. This is Sherry calling on behalf of my mother-in-law. Her name's Janet. And I'm just calling just to get some insight from you about her health. I called you a while back when you had your radio show. And she's having like neurological issues, a tremor on her right side. And at the time, she hadn't seen a neurologist, and you had said that she looked like she was a lot older than she actually is. I think she is 62 right now. So anyway, she's just been to the neurologist, and it's just been a first visit, so they haven't done an MRI or anything, but I think he's thinking it's Parkinson's. So I'm just curious if that's something that can be healed through energy work, through, what if questions.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just any way that I can help her or pass on ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I just really don't want to see her get worse and worse. And I don't know a ton about it, but from what I've seen just throughout my life, it's not a desirable condition. So yeah, I would love to hear anything you're seeing for her, anything you think would be really effective in keeping it at where it is, or even lessening it or healing it altogether. Thank you so much for all you do. Take care.
Thank you, Sherry. Anything can be healed. Absolutely anything. I mean, there is a caveat when someone wants to leave their body and they want to go through a disease to have their energy leave their body, which is their personal choice, because Earth is a temporary home for us. Our bodies are temporary temples for us, and everyone leaves at some point. So I don't think she'll be diagnosed with MS. It most likely will be Parkinson's. It seems very early. Now, Parkinson's disease energetically, and that's where we all want to focus if we're diagnosed with the disease. I love it when people aren't diagnosed, when doctors don't know. That makes me so happy, regardless of the symptoms that people have. It makes me really happy, because once people are diagnosed, they go, ugh, and they start to buy into all the disease processes of whatever the disease is. But Parkinson's is about control. So people who perhaps they massively internally control, or they massively externally control, or they could be controlling externally and internally, both. But it's about control. So what changes the vibration of Parkinson's disease is if a person can let go and stop controlling. So the what if question would be, what if I let go? What if I get out of the way? What if I surrender? There could be 3 different what if questions, or you can focus on one of those, whichever one that she likes. And I think therapy would be great for her, because people who control internally or externally or both, have some sort of traumas in their life, most likely from childhood. And traumas don't have to be some horrific, terrible thing that happened. I recently was talking to a person who didn't believe they had traumas, couldn't, which is common. A lot of people, it's hard to imagine what a trauma could be because we're so conditioned that it's something terrible, like we were kidnapped or abandoned on the side of the road, or we grew up in an orphanage or something of that nature. But moving a lot when someone's young, even if it's a military family, that could be traumatic. It could be very traumatic for a young person to change schools, learn new friends, new routes to the bus, you name it. So something like that could be traumatic. So people who control have traumas, and so they created their own coping mechanism to avoid being traumatized again. And so they control. And not everyone chooses control if they've been traumatized. That's just an option. So it'd be nice if your mother-in-law would have some therapy. But people who receive some sort of therapy, they have to want it themselves. They have to desire it, because there is inner work involved with having a personal, intimate relationship with someone hopefully is energetically aware and won't wallow in the negativity of telling stories over and over and over again, because I don't think that's healthy talk therapy, in my opinion. So you need to let go too of whatever her experience is or will be in the future, because she has chosen this. She has chosen this experience, not consciously, clearly. None of us would consciously choose the opportunities that we have to change our beliefs and our perceptions. Most humans would not. But in the bigger scheme of things, we have. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Thank you.
Hello, Marie. My name is Fenella, and I'm calling from Melbourne in Australia. You'll probably get sick of me because I've got like a gazillion questions that I'd like to ask you with regards to my own personal things. However, just for now, I'd like to just talk about, if you could please, I understand that you say that there is no hell.
Right.
And I do understand that the God or the source is all loving. And when I meditate, I feel that it's quite true that we are all connected to this source. And but I'm wondering about the seers during, like, not just the Christian seers like in Medjugorje and the Fatima children and Padre Pio, but they all do speak about hell. And yeah, not just in Christianity, but other things, drawings in Aboriginal folk art and stuff. But I will get to come to some sort of conclusion with that. What I'm really wanting you to shine some light on is I understand that we're all love, and when we're in spirit form, we have the free will to choose what lives we go into. And I'm not sure I sit well with the fact that some people choose to come on earth and be quite cruel to other people, especially the vulnerable, the children, the elderly, and animals. And I don't think this is coming from my ego, from my mind. It just doesn't. I've meditated on it, and it just doesn't sit well with me in the pit of my tummy. And I'm wondering if you can shed some light on that. I really can't get my feelings around why someone would choose to come to Earth to be horrid. Anyway, thank you so much for your time, and I'll keep listening for some answers. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
You're welcome, Fenella. I love your name. It's really beautiful. Lovely name. Great questions, too. So think about it this way. The reason why there isn't a hell, Earth is hell. If we were to pick a place in the universe that we would consider a hell-like entity, Earth is one of the lowest vibrational realities on all of the cosmos. So hell is here, and people create their own hell, of course. when they're on Earth. I know that sounds odd and interesting, but outside, the vibration is so high. People don't have a body. You can't burn something or torture. You don't have a body. You don't need to eat food. You don't need a house. You're a non-physical energy. Nothing can destroy your energy. That's why when the physical body dies, the energy inside the temple of the body leaves and goes to the non-physical. So you can't torture energy. So there's no reason to have a hell. It doesn't exist. People don't need food. They don't need water. They don't need housing. They don't need relationships. I know that sounds weird, but the energy is so palpable in these higher vibrations that you feel very loved and cherished. Just like when you have meditation and you feel the love, you're sensing the vibrations that exist, of course, here on Earth, but outside of Earth, which are a lot more intense. So there cannot be a hell outside of Earth. It's just, if there's no body to torture, because that's what hell is all about, is causing pain to others. That's what it means, right? So I think these people who a long time ago were depicting hell, I think they were depicting what was happening on Earth. Earth is at the highest vibration it's ever been. So it's actually more joyful. People live closer together than they ever have before, and they are less violent than they've ever been before. Even though we still have violence on Earth, it's the least amount that we've had in any documented time. So I think they were depicting the hell that they felt on Earth. And I don't think there's any religious document that's accurate. First of all religious documents were created only by one gender. They have been translated and retranslated and re-edited hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. I don't think religious documents should be held to any form of accuracy. They certainly can be for entertainment. If it soothes one's soul, then of course that's wonderful for that individual. But I don't think religious documents have a flame of accuracy within them. All of them. All of them. When we look at the Quran, it says an eye for an eye. Creation would never think that ever, or say that, or want that. So to answer your other question, when souls come to Earth, they don't come to cause harm or to hurt. It could be a pattern of them, and it's usually younger souls who create difficult situations or harm others. They're not very conscious. They haven't had that many lifetimes, and they're learning. Their path is to learn compassion, and sometimes it's through harming others that we learn compassion. When we can feel someone else in pain, that could open up someone's heart chakra so that it grows and gets bigger. What happens is a younger soul can be on the other side, and maybe they've witnessed, their past lives where, I was kind of violent. Of course, the Earth has been extremely violent. It still is. Words like war and famine don't exist outside of Earth. There is no language to support that vibration outside of the Earth realm. So they might be like, I hope this time when I come to Earth, I don't go to my bad or, my old patterns and I continue to go to violence. So they're coming here trying to do the best they can to not consciously hurt other people. But I don't think it's their, I can't wait to come to Earth and kill everyone. When you're in the heavens, you don't have that type of mindset. You're in a higher state of consciousness. You don't think about it that way. Just like when older souls are coming here to trust themselves and to not trust other people who, first of all, can't be of service to them anyway. They don't think about, I can't wait to come to Earth and be betrayed. They think, I hope that I even consciously begin to understand how powerful I am and how wise I am, and that I learn to listen to myself. I hope that answers your question. Great questions. Love it, love it, love it. Really good. Thank you.
Good morning, Marie. My name is Teresa. I live in Alberta, Canada. I love your podcast and I love this new format. And I just have a quick question for you. I'm wondering if you could speak about or teach about the difference between wealth or money and your job. I know you've talked about it before, that there is a difference between the two of them, and I guess it's maybe a different energy. I know in my own life I can get so linear when I think about money and wealth, and just, I can count the hours or the clients I have and that sort of thing. And my mind gets in that circular thinking. I know I'm probably overthinking everything, but I'm hoping that you could just expand a little bit on what the difference is, or how we can approach these as two different subjects. And if maybe you have a what if question for me, that would also be great. Thank you so much for your time and for everything you do out in the world. Have a great day.
Thank you, Teresa. Work. I love the word work, but not everyone does. So we probably need to create some new language for it as well. But whatever someone does is a vocation, hobby, or a job, it's supposed to be aligned with their soul. It's supposed to be aligned with what would bring them great joy and happiness. And that's where their purpose lies in terms of work or hobbies, is in alignment with whatever is in their soul, a lineage, contract, connection, where their magnificence and natural gifts and abilities can shine through. So that's what work is supposed to be about. You can see how that's a separate energy than finances or wealth. And when it comes to wealth, it's about your relationship to it. So you have energy in your body and it's moving at a certain velocity, frequency, vibration. Wealth has its own energy, velocity, frequency, and vibration. It's actually a very positive frequency. Wealth is. When humans have learned, typically from their parents, and let's say from previous lifetimes, that wealth is negative, difficult, something they can't have in the direction that they would love to have it, that's a low frequency vibration. So it's really the human being's energy that needs to change to match the vibration of wealth. So wealth in its own entity is positive. It's happy. It's lovely. It wants everyone to be fulfilled and free financially. That's what the true vibration of wealth is about. And you can use the M word. I just choose not to, for lots of reasons that I've explained before. So in order for us to be in alignment with the authentic frequency of wealth, which is important, that to have your relationship and connection to wealth, for you, we want it to be in alignment so that you can receive the benefits of financial freedom. And so you're going to need to learn to manage your mind. Please don't think about clients or count them. First of all, you're very smart. You know how much money you're making per week or per day without even counting it. So don't even think about that. And wealth can come in from so many different ways, not just through your vocation or hobbies or whatever it is that people are doing in the world. Money can come in from all kinds of different sources. Seriously, people could, eventually here lower their interest rate in their house, and then now they have more money every month. People could find a different place to live that makes them happier, that the resources are less than the state they lived in before. Those are just two examples. The examples about increasing one's connection to high vibrational wealth are endless. So your job before you engage with wealth is to change your personal energy. So people who have financial freedom have changed their personal energy about wealth, or they've already had so many past lives that are very positive about the vibration of wealth. They just come in with that frequency, which is probably most of the billionaires, because even when they lose millions and millions of money, they gain it back. So they came in with a healthy relationship to wealth. And no, you don't have to be a billionaire to have a healthy relationship with wealth, but I'm just using that as an example. So you have to think of something that keeps your energy elevated when you think about it or talk about it or look at it in your life. And it's going to be something relatively simple. It's not going to be complicated. You have so much energy about this. It's hysterical. Like, your parents must have thought very negatively about money and worried about it. and you picked up on all of these cues, and then you haven't been managing your own mind to be in its own vibration of the niceties of financial freedom. And so you look at it as a very hard thing to achieve, which it is not. It's actually harder to stay poor. Not that you are poor. I'm speaking to everyone. It's harder to stay poor. It's harder to not have financial freedom. It's so much easier to allow the financial freedom to come in, but you have to manage your vibration, your frequency. So because as I'm talking, I'm scanning you, and it's taken me a while because you have so much, wrapped up into this money thing. Like, you've put way too much energy into it in a negative way. Don't even think about it. If you can't think about it positively, ignore it. That's better for your resources. But I see this picture of you, in a very tall, grassy meadow, but not like in the middle of nowhere. It's behind some houses in a field. And there's all these pretty buttercups, and you're picking them, and they don't really smell, but you love that they put little yellow on you, like the pollen gets on you, and you're just happy. It's sunny. It's not too hot. It's a beautiful kind of Pacific Northwest day, actually. That means it's like below 70, or maybe no more than 70. I want you to focus on that before you engage with wealth for the rest of your life. These exercises that I give people are forever, not for 2 weeks. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. Great question. Thank you.
Hi, Marie. My name is Maria, and I'm calling from the Seattle area.
Oh, nice.
Thank you so much for your podcast and taking my question. About a year and a half ago, I had COVID, and then about a month or so later, I flew, and I couldn't depressurize my ear, and I was in extreme amount of pain. Apparently, I had inflammation from COVID left over. And about a week later, I developed tinnitus, regular tinnitus, and pulsatile tinnitus. And I went to several doctors doing different procedures trying to take care of the problem. And then I ended up going to another doctor who recommended surgery. So I had surgery last year for my eustachian tubes and my sinuses, hoping it would help the problem.
Did not.
But immediately coming out of the surgery, my left ear, which was the biggest problem, was worse. It was roaring and sending vibrations throughout my entire body, like tremor-like vibrations from head to toe. It felt like I was plugged into electricity, and I was just shaking, and it felt like my brain was vibrating. So fast forward to almost 9 months later, I'm still having so many problems. The doctors can't seem to figure out what's going on. I've gone to different neurologists, different ENTs, and I keep getting dismissed. I did MRI scans of my brain. They're not seeing anything that's alarming, but it feels like almost like seizure-like in my brain, like it's shaking. I'm having like a pulsing vibration in the back of my head, behind my ear, on my back. Like I can feel my heartbeat pulsing, but it just feels like I'm constantly plugged into electricity, and then I'm vibrating, and it's so uncomfortable, and I'm so scared. I don't know what to do. I don't know what the culprit is, and I just want to find an answer so I can try to solve this, and I hope this is something that I can solve, so I'm not stuck like this forever. I do also have some cardiac issues.
Not real cardiac
some other
issues.
health problems. So I was wondering if you could scan the rest of my body. I've had a lot of problems with my bladder and vaginal area in the past, so I'm not sure if something is going on throughout my entire body. But my main concern for today's question, if you could please answer, is like what's going on with the vibrations in my ear and what I can do to hopefully solve it. Thank you so much for taking my question. I appreciate everything you do. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Maria. And I'm sorry for everything that you've gone through. I'm more sorry about the surgeries because they were unnecessary. They did not work. And And I know you feel dismissed by modern medicine, but they really don't know what's going on. So when doctors don't know what's going on, they just don't know what to do. And so I can see why patients will feel dismissed, because doctors don't always say, I don't know what's going on with you and I don't know how to help you. They're not always direct with those comments. They'll just go, yeah, it's clear, it's fine. And then they just kind of shrug their shoulders. Not all of them, but a fair amount will just not say to you, so that you can just be free to go along, and seek out other forms of health. I'm sorry about the pain, but you haven't really had a lot of pain since then. So you have some underlying fear about your body, and you're not comfortable in your body. I think the COVID was just kind of the icing on the cake. I think in a couple podcasts ago, I talked about how people can have kind of a buildup of other things that are reducing perhaps their immune system or affecting some problem inside their body. And then they do one more thing, like fly on an airplane, when there's still inflammation in the body. Because when you're in flight, it expands inflammation. It just does. So the good thing about that, people may not think it's a good thing, but you get to find out where you have an inflammatory process pretty quickly. Because if you're on an airplane and then you have stomach aches afterwards, or your shoulder hurts, or in your case, you've had excruciating ear pain, you know where the inflammatory process is. I think all of this is about hormones. Your vaginal area, your bladder, your cardiac, which I don't see any serious cardiac issue. But you tend to, and I mean no disrespect when I say this, but kind of overreact when it comes to your body. You have every right to have a healthy, wonderful, amazing body. And I love it when people pay attention and start to heal aspects of their body. But you freak out, which is different. I looked at some of your past lives, and you had some pretty gnarly exits where your body went through a lot in order for the energy to leave, some torture, stuff like that. I'm sorry. And so it makes sense that when something happens to you, and kind of move into full panic, which actually doesn't help you heal. So one of the first things I want you to do, and you never have to do anything I say, is embrace this experience. There's nothing wrong with hearing your heartbeat. There's nothing wrong with feeling energy in your brain. Even as I was listening to your story, I kind of gazed in my own body, and I can feel the vibration of energy running up and down my spine right now. I worry when I don't feel energy in my body, when I'm not present to this multi-layered, multi-sensory experience that we all have the capacity to know and learn and understand. I'm happy, even if I feel massive pressure energetically on some part of my body. I don't think of it as a bad thing at all. But I think this is hormone related. So you live in Seattle, you have a lot of access to all kinds of naturopaths. Go find a really good one for you, one that perhaps specializes in women's health, but one who also embraces modern medicine. I think those are the best naturopaths on the planet. They have all this incredible endocrine knowledge, but they also embrace ultrasounds and surgeries if people need them. I just think that's the whole packet versus anyone who thinks their method or their idea is the only way, right? That's just my 2 cents about it. So don't choose a naturopath out of fear, or any doctor out of fear. You want to choose something out of joy, calmness, relaxation. You want to be in a good space. In fact, if our being isn't very calm or is too emotionally active, it's difficult for us to be in that place of neutrality and to trust and use our own natural intuition. But you live in a wonderful place where, Bastyr, I think one of the most celebrated naturopathic universities in the world is in your backyard. So you've got a lot of options. And if indeed they depict some imbalance in your hormones, the reason why I'm saying in naturopath, because only compounded hormones should be utilized. Bioidentical compounded hormones. They're based on plants. They're natural. So they have less tendency to create cancers, which is this is off topic for you, but my little about making transitions in very young children regarding their gender, because hormones are involved and they're not compounded. They're modern medicine hormones, and they're more at risk for developing all kinds of problems, including cancers in their life. So that's just my little annoyance with that part of, people not liking their bodies. So go get some hormones if you want and it feels right to you. I believe in free will. It's the strongest law in the universe. Love what's happening. And whenever people have an ear issue, it's really about not listening to the universe. So get curious, learn to meditate. Even if you hear all of your body making tons of noise, fall in love with that. Value it and appreciate it. There are good things that are happening for you. Look at it that way. Nothing, from my opinion, is critically wrong. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Hi, Marie. This is Sarah. I was calling to see if you could receive any messages from my recently departed loved ones. I'm from Annapolis, Maryland. I really like your show. I'm really trying to learn more about those particular skills that you have and developing them in myself, but I can't seem to get clear messages from people I would like to. Thank you so much. If you can help me, that'd be great.
Of course. Of course, Sarah. Thank you. What makes it difficult to hear and see and feel someone's departed loved ones is because they're too emotionally involved. So you have to get really neutral. It doesn't mean you can't. Of course you can, but you have to get neutral first. Whenever I want a psychic answer to a personal life question, I may wait hours or days in order to get neutral. And you can tell when you're neutral because you're not emotionally affected anymore. You've allowed yourself to move into the nothingness, which is where everything is. So you become actually truly, truly present, which can take a little bit of work when we're emotionally connected to the outcome or the experience or the answers that we want. And you want to get neutral because the universe is extremely surprising. I'm always surprised, of course, professionally, but certainly in my personal life, when I've allowed myself neutrality and I'm getting an answer about something, shocking to me. Shocking. Yeah. So neutrality means you can't think about them or worrying about them or want to have a conversation with them because that's not neutrality. So you have to get off topic, think of things unrelated, do stuff that makes you happy, and then plug in. I know people don't like me to talk about politics. Some people don't. I think it's an interesting energy. And I wanted to know several months ago who was going to be the next president. And I've had to work over the years to discern between electoral and popular vote too, because those are two very different energies. So obviously I enjoy this topic. So I had to get really neutral. It took me about a month to become neutral. And I was told that our Democratic nominee would be the future president. But in my mind, I thought, okay, that means that Joe Biden's going to win and then something's going to happen. He's going to step down or something like that. That's how I thought that our vice president would be president. And so I was really surprised in a delightful way how it happened. It had a very different experience. So neutrality is required in order to read yourself, your family, and your own personal circumstances. I'm not saying it's going to take you a month to get neutral about that topic. And it took me a month because I'm also super busy life and have a lot going on. And I had to just work on it little by little every day to move into the nothingness and to love everything about politics, which anyone who has resistance about it, that's your homework. Fall in love with it exactly the way it is. So you will need to perhaps fall in love with death and dying and the heavens and earth, and so that you can become neutral and not be emotionally connected. I feel a woman's presence coming through when I listen to your question, and the person who could be your mom, but I kind of don't think so. It could be an aunt, could be a sibling or a cousin. But what their message was, and I'm more on the sibling cousin, but who's crossed over, of course, is that they wish that you had played together more because they show me youthful times where you played together, even if it were infrequently. But they wished in adult years there had been more play and less seriousness. And I can tell you, as a grandmother of, currently 5 grandkids, playing with them has been an incredible expansion of joy for me. I mean, we chase each other around the house. They build forts in my pantry and in my closets. After they leave and I have to kind of clean everything up, it's not as fun for me. But while they were doing it, oh my gosh, just the playful curiosity, fun, laughing, running, screaming energy of young children is so healthy for so many people. It's definitely healthy for me. And I think that's what your departed loved one is sharing, is that it was such a healthy time to play, have that abandoned play of freedom and joy. And they just wish that they had more of that with you. So maybe you can play with them now. Play hide and go seek with your loved ones on the other side. Just run around and be joyful in the house and kick your heels up. Okay, thank you.
Hi, Marie. This is Deb from Los Angeles, California. 38 years ago, I married an intelligent, kind physician. 3 years later, our daughter was born. I thought all my dreams had come true, and her birth was a miracle because my husband had been infertile in his first marriage. I already had 2 sons, and now I had the daughter I always wanted. After 10 years of marriage, I discovered his chronic infidelity and sex addiction. It created financial and emotional hardships. I chose to stay in the marriage for the greater good and for the health insurance because one of my sons had a life-threatening illness requiring surgery. I kept the family intact and my daughter's education uninterrupted while we lost everything. He went into rehab for alcohol and sex addiction and came out, re-educated himself, and got certified in addiction medicine. He's now very successful and has helped many people, but his addiction always simmered in the background until I discovered he was cheating again during the initial COVID wave. He is a very sneaky and good liar. The children are grown and gone now, and I knew I could never be a happy person as long as he remained in his addiction. I tried to always find my default place of wisdom and compassion. I've been a lifelong student of yoga and have studied with many great teachers. On my 70th birthday last year, my gentle husband exploded in a rage and told me how miserable he'd been living with me. He was never in love with me and only married me because I was pregnant. He wanted out and told me to go live anywhere I wanted. He's been sorry ever since about exploding, but he's adamant about not being in love with me. He's given me my freedom and all the financial support I could ever need. I left her home in Florida, moved to California in October to be with our daughter as she gave birth to our only granddaughter. After a few months, my daughter's disdain for me emerged and she ceased all contact with me. I have not seen my big granddaughter since Thanksgiving. My husband and I are shocked by her behavior. He's been very supportive in helping me deal with the emotional blows. I've worked very hard to regain my positivity and emotional balance. I inspire myself daily with people like you, Alex Ferrari, Louise Hay, Abraham Hicks, and spiritual seeking. I have returned to daily yoga and meditation. I found positive new friendships and experiences here in California, but now I realize I must create a whole new idea of life for myself in my senior years. And I'm free to live and do whatever I choose, wherever I choose. I've made remarkable strides healing myself from long COVID, major surgery, and other chronic health issues. I feel like I'm on the right track. Looking back, I can't believe how I got hit so hard with that double whammy of losing my husband and my daughter all at once. Any insight you have will be much appreciated, Marie. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deb, for sharing your story. I think you're a poster child for my introduction today on this podcast. The betrayals, you're an old soul, and you gave your power away. Your husband, ex, whatever he is to you now, he's a narcissist. They always cheat and lie. They're amazing manipulators. He is a narcissist. They don't change, typically, because it takes many, many lifetimes for them to heal their own wound. And your daughter learned from her dad how to treat you with disrespect and dishonesty. She might have some of those same sort of symptoms. So you've had your wake up call, and really, in my opinion, but I also know that we're all making the best choices that we can. I'm sure your inner self, if you had not listened to your people pleasing, over caring, over nurturing person because you came to earth to learn self compassion. When people learn self compassion, old souls are going to feel guilty. They're going to feel selfish. And that means you're on the right track. So moving forward, if you feel selfish, you're on the right track. Guilt is not a real emotion. It's a mind-made emotion. But many times older souls feel guilty, like, oh, I should be taking care of this person and they really didn't mean this. And they're really kind. When you use the word gentle to describe your spouse, that word doesn't even commute at all. This is a person who's been lying and cheating to you through your entire relationship. And you've allowed yourself to maintain that vibration. Thank goodness he left. He did you a favor. A favor. And also, although I'm so sorry about what's happening with your daughter and your grandchild, that's, unfair and terrible. But obviously the universe wants you to learn to think about yourself, and you don't know how to do that. You will easily and gladly pour your energy into someone else and help them and be available to them versus yourself. So that's truly your lesson, is to be absorbed and interested and curious about you and what makes you work and what makes you happy, because you don't know. You've spent a lifetime caring for others and hoping that they will change and loving them, to the deep of your core, and abandoning yourself. So that needs to stop. And it sounds like you're being forced into this new way of living. You're very lucky to have had these betrayals happen to you in this lifetime. So much so at such a force that I know is terribly uncomfortable. And I am sorry that your soul wants this so deeply that it will do anything. And this is true for souls. They'll do anything to learn and advance one's awareness and consciousness of oneself. That's what they're dedicated to. They're devoted to that. That's the soul's job, is to be devoted to the evolution of its energy. So don't think about them. I won't even talk to them. And if you do talk to your daughter, which you will in the future, hopefully when you've healed yourself more and you think that you're just as precious as everybody else and that you deserve to be treated with love and kindness the way you treat others, that you tell your daughter that she should value you, that she has a wonderful mother, and that she should treat you with the utmost respect. She needs to be trained to love and appreciate you, because you and her dad trained her in the opposite direction by your actions and choices. So I'm excited for you. I'm sorry this has happened, but I'm deeply excited for you. Thank you, everyone, for the lovely podcast and all of your questions. I wish you all joyful blessings. Bye-bye for now.